Recently, I pretty much stopped reading. I was in the middle of a pretty long book that I just wasn't really enjoying at the time, and I've lost my whole rhythm with reading and with BookTube and with like my bookish friends and bookish communities. I stopped watching videos, I wasn't really commenting much, and I wasn't participating in the book club that I'm in. But I had a buddy read scheduled, and I decided I had to do it. I didn't want to cancel it, I just had to do it. The book wasn't even that great. It was this book, Imago by Octavia E. Butler, but the experience of reading this book together with a friend, of discussing it, that experience brought me back into reading. And that's what this video is all about. Some reasons why you might want to consider doing a buddy read for yourself. All right, so first reason is that it reminds you of why and how you fell in love with reading. And I might want to emphasize how in that statement. We learn to read with other people. We learn to read with brothers and sisters or parents or guardians, whoever's helping raise us when we're quite young. And we also learn to read at school. And the process that we do that is by having discussions and conversations about what we're reading with other people who are at the same stage with us, so that would have been our classmates, and also with teachers, people who are more advanced readers than we are. But it's those discussions and it's that conversation that is really what helps spark the love of reading within us. And a buddy read can bring that back. So reading doesn't always have to be solitary. It should be something that we do in some way with other people. And reading the exact same book at the same pace with another person together really draws you back into that ongoing conversation that you can have about the book, about the things you like, about the things you don't like, the things that were confusing, the things that were amazing. Those discussions are really, really important as a reader. We don't always have to be doing it alone. We really should be doing it with other people or even just with one other person. The second thing, and this is something that I talked about in the introduction there, is that it can really break you out of a reading slump. That's really what it did for me. I had gone probably close to a month without really reading much of anything as far as reading books and things like that. And I had that buddy read scheduled with my friend, and I knew if I canceled it, not only would I let him down, which is huge, I don't like letting people down, but I would not be reading anymore. Like, I just felt like if I don't do this, like, when will I read again? Like, what would motivate me to read again? So reading with another person, doing a buddy read, especially like just with one other person, because it's a bit more intimate, maybe that's not the right word, but because it's much more direct, it's much more like face-to-face, it's much more engaging, you really feel two things. One, you feel that you don't want to let that other person down. And two, you feel much more motivated knowing that there's someone there right alongside with you, doing it along with you, that there's someone kind of expecting to have some conversations with you, whether it's chapter by chapter, whether it's halfway through the book, or whether it's at the end of the book. Knowing that there's someone else there with you really helps keep you motivated. All right, so this next point links back to the first point that I made about how we learn to read and why we learn to read. And this point is that it really helps deepen your understanding or broaden your understanding of the book you're reading and, really of reading in general. But, when we read something alone, we tend to really just we have our own frame of mind, we have our own lens that we look at things through. And we've probably taken literature courses in the past or listened to lectures and things like that. And we sort of develop this kind of palette that we use when we're reading to help us paint meaning of the text. But when we read it with another person, they're going to have a different lens. They're going to have a different perspective. They're going to have a different palette that they draw on to derive meaning from the text. And that can be really, really amazing. And to go back to the story that I told at the beginning, I actually didn't really like the book that we read, but in discussing it, I found things that I did like, partially through listening to my friend talk about what they had to say about the book, and vice versa. I shared some ideas with him that he said, oh, I hadn't even considered that. That's a totally like different angle to look at that issue within the book. So reading together with someone else really genuinely does help broaden and even help deepen your own understanding of the book. This next one I've touched on a little bit already, but I want to go a little deeper on it. And that's that doing a buddy read is really a low stakes way to stay consistent. So if you're reading for school or if you're reading in a much larger reading group, the stakes are a bit higher and there can actually be a kind of pressure to keep up with the reading pace and to always have some talking points or discussion points to bring to the group, to bring to the discussion or the club. But if you're just doing it one-on-one with someone else, with a friend, it's really more of like having kind of a coach or an accountability partner, like that person that you go running with or the person that you go lift weights with. It's a bit more low stakes, but it helps you stay consistent, knowing that there's someone else there going with it with you. And it's okay if you slow down a little bit. You know, if you're in touch with this person, you can message back and forth or you're calling back and forth. And you're going to find that, yeah, maybe they fall a little bit behind too, and that's okay. The important thing though is to try and keep yourself consistent, and through kind of your committed, the sort of partnership that you commit yourself to by doing the buddy read, and just committing to that alone is a huge step to becoming more consistent. All right, and this last point that I want to make is that doing a buddy read with someone else really keeps you much more engaged as a reader. And what I mean by that is that you're less passive, you're much more of an active reader. As you're reading through the book, you're going to find yourself marking passages, whether you're highlighting or tabbing or underlining. And you want to discuss those passages with your reading partner and with your reading buddy. And that could be things that you thought were amazing. It could be things that you thought were terrible. You know, it could be questions that you want to ask. It could be something you want to ask your reading partner, what do you think about that? And you want to share your own ideas about that too. But I guarantee that if you do a buddy read with someone else, you really become a much more active reader. Sometimes this is called close reading, where you're really looking very closely at certain passages to kind of pick them apart and derive the subtext and the underlying meaning behind that. I find that when I read alone, I do that a lot less often. But if I know that I'm going to share my thoughts with someone about this book, I really do tend to look a lot more closely and a lot more deeply at that text. So there's some reasons why you might want to consider doing a buddy read. Like I said, for me, it really brought me back into reading at a time when I just had no reading habits. I'd completely fallen out of the rhythm of reading. But more importantly, it also helped me kind of break through and get back into being a more active reader and in participating with the reading community as a whole, instead of just always having to be alone with it. So I'd love to hear what you do to keep yourself motivated as a reader. I'd love to hear your experiences. Have you done buddy reads before? Have you ever considered it? Have you thought about it but not tried to do it? Let me know why. And if you're interested in doing a buddy read on something, feel free to ask in the comments below. Maybe we can set something up and we can do that.